Greetings once again, Indie Warriors, and welcome back to I Dream of Indie Games. My name's Old Gamer Joe, and this year's 2023 official Game Awards are now in the bag. Honestly, good news for indie fans, we had a ton of exciting announcements. It was great to see such solid indie representation this year, and while most of the games and interesting announcements really took place during the first 40 minutes or so of this show, there's a lot to get hyped about here. I didn't really care about the AAA stuff, I just don't play those games all that often, or the ceremonies or any of that stuff, but the indie announcements were all pretty damn hype. Let's get into some of our favorites now, but before that, real quick, don't let the echo chamber topple on over us. Head over to patreon.com/idreamofindiegames and support independent content. You'll gain Discord access, a new podcast, early ad-free shows, shoutouts at the end of every video we produce, and even free games depending on your tier. Your new indie gaming community is waiting for you. Alright, so the first announcement I'd like to discuss is one that's really exciting for me, as Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons is one of my all-time favorite games. Well, we're getting a remake, and while I do think many remakes today are completely unnecessary and often cash grabs, I can get behind Brothers returning for a few reasons. For one, the original game did feel a bit held back by the technology of the time, and I could see higher resolutions and frame rates benefiting this game greatly. Secondly, I feel like many people never played this game, which is an absolute shame, so with it now being more in the spotlight, my hope is more folks get to enjoy this tragic tale. And lastly, the original game was arguably a bit short. I could see the story now being fleshed out a bit more. If you never played Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, it is a fascinating, heartfelt experience where you control two brothers. I know that's probably obvious, but not in the way you might be thinking. They moved individually depending on which analog stick you used. Now, I didn't realize this, but apparently the Switch version added true co-op to the game later, but I had always played it single player, and for as weird as it sounds considering you have two characters on the screen, single player oddly makes a lot of sense with the way the puzzles are designed. But if you've played this game, you probably already know what I mean. If you haven't, you might be a little confused. I'm sorry, just go play it. You should play the original before this comes out, seriously, and then you can compare them. Either way, the brothers are on a quest to seek out a mysterious water that can revive your dying father. Each brother features a unique skill set which will help them to team up and solve a variety of puzzles. For this version, they look to preserve the spirit of the original release, but will have an updated soundtrack and, of course, visual and performance upgrades. The trailer looked completely awesome, and we won't need to wait long as the game is going to be releasing February 28th of 2024. Our next surprise announcement was World of Goo 2, the sequel to a game that released in friggin' 2008. This physics-based puzzler was greatly loved at that time, but there's just really not a ton of info on this sequel yet. There's no Steam page that is launched, and we don't even know exactly which platforms it's going to appear on, but boy does it look charming. I'm assuming Nintendo's a safe bet on this one, seeing the original went there, but either way, the game will clearly have a sense of humor, with the trailer even going as far as poking fun at how long it's been since that first game came out. Will people still care all these years later? That remains to be seen. World of Goo 2 does look awesome, and I personally can't wait to learn more about it. They've launched an official website at worldofgoo2.com if you want to keep up with things. Moving along from the Goo, we had Thrasher, which comes to us from the artist and the music composer of a game called Thumper, a rhythm title that I really loved, especially in VR. Thrasher looks to be more of the same of that style of game, but turned up a notch. Definitely not a bad thing. Good news here as well, this is a 2024 release, though we don't have a concrete date just yet. Test your rhythm skills once again as you avoid perilous obstacles in a psychedelic world. Hopefully with the same composer returning, that means we get the same stylized tracks, we get some awesome deep bassy tones, and the gesture controls hope to simplify things. Thrasher will also have a chill mode for casual play and a more challenging option for gamers that want to test their skills. It looks like they're going to go with VR versions first, but flat screen versions will arrive later. Moving on from Thrasher, we had a shocker next, and this one comes from Motion Twin, who of course have worked on Dead Cells seemingly forever. Well, they now have a new game, and it was not at all what I was expecting. Windblown has this fantastic anime art style, and it seems to place a larger emphasis on co-op elements. This roguelite experience will feature very quick-paced combat, but fear not, it can also be experienced solo. Seems like the game will start out in early access according to the Steam page, where you'll still have plenty of weapons and skills to master. Like I said, this maybe wasn't exactly what I was expecting tonally after a game like Dead Cells, but I like that the developer is trying something different. I'm sure they're pretty burnt out on Dead Cells at this point, and they want a change of scenery. The combat's looking really nice so far. We'll see if it even launches this year. There's no date just yet. As I watched the trailer for this next release, I thought I had tuned into a modern Disney movie. That's kind of the vibe that Harmonium the musical gives off. You'll play as Melody Mikado, who is sadly deaf. However, she still loves music and uses sign language to sing a variety of Disney-inspired songs. I don't know if they're Disney-inspired, but again, they certainly give off that vibe. I'm a bit of a sucker for music like this, and I'm way more interested in this game than perhaps some of you are. More good news, it's going to be going to Game Pass and Netflix as well. That's something we're hearing more of, huh? Netflix is really serious about getting into the gaming space. Either way, I think Harmonium the musical looks pretty cute. I am a sucker for the occasional musical, even though Fantasia terrified me as a child. It's that opening scene. Oh baby, if you are an indie gaming fan and you saw this next trailer get announced live, you were probably pounding your fists and jumping up and down just like old gamer Joe was. I was stunned cold, but this is a new game from the genius Daniel Mullins. Yes, we do get to go back to Pony Island. This is Pony Island 2, Panda Circus. Mullins games are sheer magic between the original Pony Island and Inscription, and I think it's a great decision to return to Pony Island after you make a game like Inscription. Give these properties a little breathing room. I think that's a good move for Daniel here. Pony Island 2 somehow looks even more insane than the original, placing an emphasis on time travel in video games. Yes, that's right, video games within video games. You gotta love it. Taking place within the Earth prison, you'll need to partake in various games, so it seems like we can expect even more off-the-wall, fourth-wall breaking madness in this sequel. I, for one, can't wait, but we don't have a solid release window just yet, with the announcement date kind of glitching at the end of this trailer between different years. I doubt we see it in 24, but fingers crossed. Moving right along, we have a release from Finji, who of course published the excellent Tunic. This was an intriguing trailer that certainly looked a bit early because, well, it is slated for 2025, but the game is Usual June. It's a third-person action title, and I quote this from the Steam page, quote, "It's about summer break and the end of the world," end quote. That sounds uplifting, right? The animations are very odd looking to me, with the game almost having this rotoscoped look, but not quite. It's a bit hard to describe, you can see it here. There's going to be some combat, a heavy emphasis placed on the dead, and all told, I'm very interested to learn more about this game as it progresses. Maybe they announced it a little bit too early, but it still looks intriguing. Onward to an action RPG with a whole heck of a lot of style. The first Berserker, Khazan. Feel free to correct me, pronunciation guy, I know you will. If I got that wrong, my apologies. But this looks to be a combat-focused revenge tale with lots of explosive action. You'll play as that lead character, who's a noble hero best known for saving his empire from an evil dragon clan. The game is said to adapt the universe of DNF, which I'm also not familiar with, but the hack and slash gameplay mixed with RPG elements so far looks like a recipe for success. Definitely a really cool, stylish trailer here. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot more out of this one, and maybe learning what the heck DNF is. Let me know in the comments below if you know. Somebody will. What'd I tell you? There were a lot of releases, and I'm not even gonna have them all on this list. Just tons of indies. Let's go next to the First Descendant. So we had the first Berserker from Nexon, and now we have the First Descendant. I guess they're all about this first thing. But anyways, this is an online looter shooter. Up to 4 players will be able to battle bosses together, and much like the previous game, the first Berserker, this one will also feature some RPG elements. Take down foes and equip a wide variety of guns together with a good variety of missions and other gadgets at your disposal, such as a grappling hook. These games aren't my usual jam, but I'm excited for those of you who like this style of gameplay. I guess we'll keep the multiplayer train rolling with this next announced title. It's called Mecha BREAK. You guessed it, there's giant mechs in this one. You can customize these mechs in a good variety of different ways as you team up with squads taking part in epic 48-player battle royale combat. We don't often get a lot of mech games here at the channel, but I do really enjoy them when they come around, so Mecha BREAK is on my wish list without question. It looks to have a lot of options, lots of customization here. If you love this style of game, once again, definitely worth keeping an eye on. Next up, it's time to solve a mystery, 15 of them in fact, in The Rise of the Golden Idol. Taking place in the 70s, this one seems to have a bit of a warped sense of humor. A quote from the Steam page here, quote, "Enlightenment, seekers, convicts, chat show hosts, and corporate middle management will all have a role to play in the wider mysteries that unfold. Like always, many of these subjects will have their own motives. Some will be carrying more than agendas," end quote. I love a good murder mystery myself, or mystery game in general. The art style is certainly speaking to me, and it will be releasing in 24, which is pretty exciting. Did you think we were done? Oh, no, not just yet. One of the more fascinating trailers on this evening was Big Walk, which comes to us from the masterminds behind Untitled Goose Game. This online walker-talker does not look anything like Goose Game, and is honestly a bit hard to even comprehend the concept of, which makes me want to play it that much more. There are toys and tools to help you, and you'll need them as words won't always be an option. Can this game take the indie scene by storm like Untitled Goose Game did? That remains to be seen, but I do want to play it, absolutely. Alright, believe it or not, there were even more indie releases and AA niche games to talk about, but I'm gonna end it here just because this list is getting pretty long. The last one I want to call out is No Rest for the Wicked, a really cool looking game that comes to us from the creative folks that brought us the Ori titles. This action RPG looks just phenomenal, taking place in the year 841. Damn, that's a long time ago. Living in a world full of disease and a now dead king, you'll take control of the warrior serum. They are really emphasizing the combat here, which seems incredibly fluid thus far, and I love the visual style, which isn't all that much of a surprise coming from such a talented developer. The campaign can also be enjoyed online in co-op, which is sweet. Love hearing that. And yeah, that's gonna do it for this list. Could I have done without the Game Awards AAA corporate Hollywood BS and all of that nonsense? Absolutely. But did it bring some great indies? It sure damn did. And I think these great indie releases might have been a little bit overshadowed by all of the AAA nonsense and all of the angry gamers that didn't get the AAA games that they were hoping to see, or their game didn't win, or the awards, they didn't like the way they were presented, blah, 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 the list goes on. Bottom line, some really fun trailers were revealed for indie games, and they got me excited for 2024 and beyond. I hope you enjoyed this collection of some of my favorites. Be sure to head over to patreon.com/idreamofindiegames to support independent content further, and also like and subscribe. If you enjoyed this video, we'd love to have you here at I Dream of Indie Games. Voice to the voiceless, I will see you on the channel for more great content. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas to all.